70% of my herd consists of F1 cattle and black and white crossbreeds. The F1 is superior. I was very surprised because the weight gain was remarkably high, even in the heat. There are corrals with 60 or 70 animals grouped in lots. Some gained as much as 1.9 metric tons from purchase to sale. I wasn't expecting that. This year has been my best year in terms of profit margin between buying and selling. 3,000 tons make a difference. 3,000 tons times $22, that's $66,000.
Jesse sent a message saying that he won't be making videos anymore because you haven't subscribed to the Santa Fe channel. So subscribe now, and he will continue recording on farms around the world.
Good morning. My name is Fernando Garcia. We are a family-owned business specializing in breeding, growing, and finishing cattle. We also buy cattle for slaughter at the packing plant. Currently, we have 11,000 head of cattle, including 3,000 breeding cows. Then comes the growing phase. In our feedlot, we maintain a static inventory of approximately 4,000 head, sometimes 3,000 or 4,000, depending on the season. For me, feedlotting was initially a business opportunity, taking advantage of periods of drought when replacement prices drop significantly. If there's enough feed, it's an opportunity to secure a higher profit margin between purchase and sale. However, in feedlot operations, margins are very tight. So for me, it's a tool to capitalize on market fluctuations. Additionally, we have a breeding system. We wean the calves, place them in the feedlot, and by 13 or 14 months, the heifers are already bred. The males also undergo a brief growing phase, but they go directly from weaning to the feedlot and then straight to the packing plant. Now, we are expanding our pasture areas to allow for more growing on grass before moving to the feedlot. The goal is to put heavier cattle into the feedlot, achieving a larger carcass and better carcass utilization.
What types of pastures do you have here?
Here we have Mombasa, Mabuno, Piata, and Marandu Brizantha grass. In the summer, the average weight gain is around 900 to 960 grams per day. However, we provide supplementation 0.7% of body weight. That's the average. Some cattle categories gain more, others gain less. It depends on the size of the animal when it enters the system. This applies to the rainy season. When the grass runs out, weight gain drops significantly. Now we've been purchasing much larger cattle, around 400 to 430 kilograms, and they have gained over 2 kilograms per day. The lowest gain was around 1.89 kilograms or 1.8 kilograms per day, but it depends a lot on the animal. At times, the maximum gain has been 1.6 kilograms, particularly for smaller cattle. The cattle we buy now usually stay in the system for an average of 90 to 110 days. It all depends on the selling price opportunity. Prices fluctuate a lot, so we buy the cattle without knowing when prices will drop or rise. It depends on the packing plant. Ideally, the cycle should last between 100 and 110 days, but prices dictate the timing. Sometimes you can sell at a higher price after 80 days, but if you wait 110 or 120 days, the price may drop, making it unprofitable. The average stay is around 90 days. The feed conversion ratio is approximately 6.51 on a global scale. We are now working on implementing a system that we haven't been able to put in place yet. We are still in the structuring phase, building the necessary facilities. Once we organize the pens properly, we'll be able to obtain more precise numbers. Regarding our own cattle, we have a set standard. We primarily work with Black Angus and Black and White crossbreeds. About 70% of our herd consists of F1 cattle and Black and White crossbreeds. F1 cattle perform better, but Black and White cattle also show good performance. Purchases vary a lot. However, cattle sourced from the Chaco region have strong genetics. There's a high genetic load there, so that's not a major concern. This year's weight gain has been exceptional, even now in January. We had temperatures reaching 42 degrees Celsius. I expected a maximum gain of 1.5 kilograms, but yesterday we finished evaluating several lots, and from purchase to sale, they gained 1.9 kilograms per day. I wasn't expecting that at all, but we also reduced stocking density per pen. Previously, we had 100 to 120 animals per pen. Now, it's 60 to 70. This helps maintain summer feedlot capacity while sustaining weight gain. Heat stress is evident when stocking density is at 120 animals. It gets extremely hot here in Paraguay. On some days, temperatures reach 41, 42 degrees Celsius. Reducing stocking density keeps the animals calmer. They seem more comfortable. There are also shaded areas, but overall, weight gain has been excellent. This was my first time implementing this approach. It started last year. In past summers, weight gain was around 1.4 to 1.5 kilograms, even with the same diet, but the cattle didn't gain much weight. This year, I was very surprised because the weight gain was significantly higher, despite the heat. We have pens with 60 to 70 animals, but this week I had to restock them. The replacement cattle coming from pasture had no grass due to the drought. After the rains, if space allows, I will keep them longer, but that depends on the weather forecast. If necessary, I will reduce stocking density again. Carcass yield depends heavily on the number of days on feed. After 90 days in the packing plant, yesterday they slaughtered 5 truckloads, totaling 220 head. The average yield was between 56% and 52%. One specific load, which had only 50 days on feed, yielded 53.5%. I made a deal. Since the packing plant requested cattle, I sent them. They weighed 550 kilograms, but they had little fat cover. I tracked the daily feed cost per head. In Guarani, it's about 14,000, 15,000 per head, including all operational costs. However, considering carcass yield and the price received, I was selling at 1,600 per kilo at the packing plant. I did the calculations yesterday. In Guarani, this equates to approximately 3.80 per kilo at the packing plant. The price fluctuates between 3.80 and 3.83. One packing plant, Minero, is paying 3.83, while another one is paying 3.80. The difference is that one pays immediately, while the other pays in 30 days.
With a cost of $2 and a selling price of 3.80.
380. So, with a weight gain of 1.8 kilograms, you calculate 15,000 Guaranis for the daily diet, and you gain 1.8 times that. That's 1,600. 1,600. It gives a very good margin. At current prices, it's yielding very high returns, around $2.
The price is really high.
Right now, the average feedlot cost is $28 per month, but at current prices, it's extremely high.
Fernando has an average cost of 15,000 Guaranis. The feed I prepare in other feedlots costs between 18,000 and 20,000. His cost is the lowest.
I'm already buying now. I've already purchased sorghum. I'm stocking up for the winter. I bought 1,000 tons. When the price is right, I buy. I've already signed a contract at $130 per ton. So I always look for buying opportunities. I purchased DDGS at $228 per ton. 2.28. Most people buy at 2.50, 2.55 per kilo. This year I bought 3,000 tons at 2.28 per kilo. I just closed the deal. When feed is cheap, I buy in bulk. Whenever silage is available, I buy it. If white oats are cheap, I buy them. Whatever feed is available at a good price, I discuss it with the nutritionist, he does the calculations, and I make the purchase. Regarding DDGS, we were buying at $250 per ton. I negotiated for a lower price. We closed a deal for 3,000 tons. The supplier initially offered $230, but since I've been buying from them for 4 years, I managed to secure it at $228 per ton. That makes a difference. If you calculate 3,000 tons times $22, that's $66,000 saved. The mineral salt we formulate for the cattle was designed by our nutritionist. It gives us an annual saving of $50,000. We also import phosphate and buy premixes, which leads to significant savings. You have to adapt. Right now, cattle prices are at 3.20. You have to survive. For those of us who trade cattle, having price information is essential. Right now, I'm not buying replacement cattle. Prices are too high, and I've already stocked up. In the Chaco region, there will be cattle available in March and April. Then the dry season arrives. Some ranchers don't prepare for it. They will have to sell their cattle at low prices again. That's when I step in and buy.
It's really a matter of planning and negotiation. The feedlot has to run efficiently, ensuring proper average daily gain. That's fine, but the real key lies on the other side, negotiating the purchase of both cattle and feed.
Sometimes in the feedlot, if prices drop, you either break even or even face a loss. You have to pay close attention. The volume is huge. A bad deal can put you at risk of going under.
Do you measure profitability based on the number of calves?
I evaluate profitability per head with every purchase I make. For example, when I buy cattle, I select a lot of 160 head and sort them by size, 300 kilograms, 350 kilograms, and anything above 350 kilograms. I record the purchase date, the weight at purchase, and the average weight at sale. This year has been my best year in terms of profit margin between buying and selling. During winter here in Paraguay, replacement cattle prices were very low. On average, we bought at 11,000 guarani per kilo and sold at 15,000 guarani per kilo over the year. This created a very high profit margin on both purchase and sale. I also bought weaned heifers from a farm. They were very thin, and I purchased them for 10,000 guarani per kilo, which is about $1.5 per kilo. Now they have all gone through the feedlot and have already been sold. In just 6 months, they have performed exceptionally well. Regarding feed, we had some corn silage and a bit of capiachu grass silage, but that's now finished. We also have high-quality white oat hay with grain. I processed part of it through a mill and stored it in bags while the rest is used daily. I mix feeds because, due to the drought, there isn't much corn silage available. A significant amount of corn was lost. Still, most of the time, I use corn silage.
Some people sell live weight in the feedlot at 1.5 or 2 kilograms per day, but we don't sell by live weight, we sell by carcass weight. To calculate yield, you have to multiply 1,800 kilograms by 0.54 to determine carcass yield and see how much actual weight is being gained. Then you multiply that by 0.320 or 0.380. So it's not that simple. If it's a steer, that's the yield. But for cows, it's around 0.50 or 0.48. Each category has a different time in the feedlot, as Fernando explained, At 0.55, the yield is low because the animal comes from pasture with a large stomach, meaning the yield will be lower. In the feedlot, the diet is concentrated and grain-based, so the stomach shrinks, improving carcass yield. In the U.S., cattle typically stay in feedlots for 6 months, around 180 days.
At least 60%. The other day, I had a Nelore steer that stayed in the feedlot for 120 days. Its carcass yield was 58.22%, and that was in a packing plant with well-sharpened knives.
They trim a lot, and along with the hide, some other parts are removed as well.
Yes, they removed several parts. Even so, the carcass yield was 58.22%.
The longer the cattle stay in the feedlot, because the length of time in the feedlot depends on each category as well as the diet. Whether it's a steer or a heifer makes a difference. And it's complex, but overall the key factors are what you did in advance, and buying corn at harvest time, taking advantage of opportunities for raw materials, and not overpaying for cattle. Because when it's time to sell, we're dealing with an almost monopolized market dominated by 2 major Brazilian packing plants here. They often align their pricing, and sometimes the market price remains depressed. It stayed low throughout the entire year and only recently started increasing. It's been about 3 months since prices started going up. Last year was tough. It was difficult across the entire country.
But looking at the annual average, it's been excellent. You can't just focus on the short-term numbers. The yearly average feedlot cost is $30 per month per head. It has always been around $28 to $30. Right now, it's at $60. But there were times when we also had losses. So the long-term average remains $30 per month in the feedlot. At this moment, I have fantastic numbers, but the annual average is still $30 per month.
And when you have strong numbers like this, do you take advantage of them to buy feed?
Yes, I buy feed whenever prices are good.
And if the numbers turn bad, do you adjust your strategy for the next year?
This year, I expanded the feedlot. For the first time, we're going to run out of high-moisture corn, but I'll replace it with dried whey. We've never run out of high-moisture corn before, but this year it will happen. This year has been a record in terms of cattle volume. I believe we sold more than 10,000 head. I need to check the numbers with accounting, but I'll get you the exact figure shortly.
And how do you handle feed storage?
We use silo bags, and we also have trench silos.
And for forage, is most of it stored in trenches?
We also use 100-meter-long silo bags.
What's the strategy to avoid spoilage?
He has some silage. In the silo bags, he stores high-moisture corn, which doesn't spoil. There's also dry grain and a variety of other ingredients. As for the silage, he has a high turnover rate. It gets used up quickly, so we haven't had issues here.
Now, we're also improving the trench silos. We're planning earthworks to prevent losses from seepage at the bottom. But over the past 4 years, there has been very little rainfall, so we haven't had much mud, only recently. For the feedlot infrastructure, we installed a 3-meter-wide concrete slab where the feed bunk is located. This prevents the cattle from sinking into the ground. We also placed a 6-meter diameter concrete pad around the water trough. During a recent visit with Dr. Jose Renato, we learned that proper earthworks can help us make better use of the organic matter generated by the feedlot. That's actually a valuable revenue stream. Each steer produces roughly $40 worth of fertilizer over a 120-day cycle. We've been spreading a lot of sand because we haven't done the earthworks yet. But in the future, the goal is to carry out proper grading to optimize usage. Currently, all organic matter from the feedlot is applied to pastures and croplands. Right now, I'm emptying the silo bags. Each silo bag is 100 meters long and 9 feet in diameter. We cut it daily as we use it, ensuring nothing spoils. It's more expensive. It costs about $7 more per ton, but the quality of the silo bag storage is excellent. We use a 20-ton front-end loader to compact the silage. However, we recently bought a Caterpillar compactor, a Pied de Cabra sheep's foot roller, but we haven't used it yet. We just purchased it and are still servicing it. Usually, we compact the silage by driving a 20-ton front-end loader directly over it. First, we spread the silage, then the loader levels and compacts it. Once it's done, we spread coarse salt on top. For a trench silo measuring 50 by 12 meters, we apply around 3 or 4 50 kilograms bags of salt. After that, we cover it with plastic sheeting and seal it. There's always some minor loss on the surface, but this method helps minimize waste.
And what do you place on top of the plastic sheeting?
Tires, sand, and also soil. We put soil in bags and place them on top. We don't spread soil directly because we sell a lot of plastic sheeting to tobacco farmers around here. So we try not to damage the plastic too much since we resell it later.
Is the plastic sheeting also recycled? Does it go through a buying and selling process?
Yes, it's cyclical. Cattle production is cyclical. Prices are good right now. Brazil doesn't have a large supply of calves, so replacement prices will be strong. There won't be an oversupply. There will be some supply, but the market is currently in our favor. Here we say north wind when it rains, and right now the north wind is blowing in our favor.
When times are tough, if you buy raw materials wisely, you either don't lose money or lose very little, just enough to stay in the market. Then when the north wind arrives, that's when you make money.
Right now, we've delivered nearly 50 truckloads, between 40 and 50 truckloads of finished cattle. There are no more finished cattle available. We're taking advantage of the current price before the vaccination period starts. The packing plants are threatening that prices will drop afterward, but that's a lie. They won't drop. There isn't much supply. At the moment, there's an increase in supply because everyone is selling to avoid the vaccination costs. Cattle are being rushed to market, but prices are excellent right now. The carcass price is at $3.80 per kilo. In Brazil, the pricing system is different, with cattle sold per arroba. I believe in Brazil, the carcass price is around $3.60 per kilo today. So it's looking even better here.
In Paraguay, most producers use a fiber-based diet, typically corn silage, similar to Brazil, where 60–80% of the country's diet is based on corn silage. Some are now using Cameroon grass, and capiachu grass is also becoming more common. Others use hay. We occasionally use dry corn instead of high-moisture corn, and sometimes oats or another energy source like rice bran. For protein, we primarily use wet distillers grains, Berlanda, and DDGS, along with a mineral supplement that contains some urea, plenty of limestone, and monensin. It's a simple, low-cost supplement with just a few key ingredients. The main forage component is typically corn silage with either dry or high-moisture corn, DDGS, and the mineral supplement with a small amount of urea and monensin. That's our basic formula. Occasionally, other ingredients are added when there's a good buying opportunity, but that's not the norm. The issue with byproducts is that they require careful analysis. Corn is corn. It always has about 9% protein and 70% starch. So pure raw materials like DDGS are very stable. We used to use soybean meal, which was also very stable, but when dealing with byproducts like canola or rice bran, we have to analyze them carefully. Byproducts can be inconsistent. Sometimes they contain too much oil, or their acidity levels are off due to variations in the processing. And that's why, if possible, we prefer to stick with corn silage, DDGS, and the mineral supplement. It simplifies things, and sometimes we buy something just because it's cheap, but if we're not careful, a bargain can turn out to be very costly.
The advantage of using DDGS is that it's produced nearby, so transportation costs are very low, just 20 to 30 kilometers from the factory to the farm. One of the biggest benefits of feedlotting is the faster turnover rate. A finished steer that used to be sold at 16-18 months can now be finished at 14-15 months. This accelerates turnover and allows more space for heifers. Normally, when a farm is overloaded, heifers are kept in the worst pastures. If they don't have good body condition, reproduction rates suffer, and the entire breeding program is affected. Another major advantage is improved cash flow. Money comes in faster. The second advantage is increasing the farm's carrying capacity. And the third is optimizing cattle management during the dry season. A feedlot is a great tool for managing cattle efficiently, keeping them in the right place at the right time. That's the real advantage.